So my daughter was back in the hospital this past week. She's home now and fine and everything, but it did remind me that I wanted to talk about something interesting at this hospital, Boston Children's Hospital. They have visitor badges that have kind of a neat feature I haven't seen elsewhere, which is they self-expire. They after a day they become visibly expired with these red lines through them. And I thought that was kind of a neat feature. It's not super high security for reasons I'll talk about later, but it is kind of interesting. So, well, let me start with how these are issued to you, because that kind of makes an important difference here. So, when you check in, you give the security person your ID and whatnot, and tell them who you're visiting, and so on and so on. They pull a cardboard backer out of a kind of a bin that's sitting on their desk, and this is a piece of cardboard that has red lines on it. These red lines are already visible on the cardboard. And then they print out a sticker that has your name, where you're visiting, and a barcode and date and time and that kind of stuff. They print out the sticker, they apply the sticker to this, and the sticker covers up the red lines, and then you're off on your way. Now, I had plenty of time as I was driving back and forth to Boston over those last few months, to think about, like, well, how does this thing work? So it seemed like a pretty good clue was the fact that the lines were already on the cardboard. And I was thinking, why would that be? Because now one idea is that it's just to prevent you from like getting a hold of just the cardboard piece and using that as a badge, because it would have the red lines on it and it would look like it was expired, when in fact it was like never issued. But that doesn't really make a lot of sense, because, I mean, yeah, you could, maybe swipe one of these off from the bin on the desk while the security guard's putting in your information, well, then what would you do with it? I mean, you wouldn't just like handwrite your information on it. The obvious thing to do would be to go away and print a Avery label or something with the information on it, and then it would like never expire. So it seemed like having the lines on the cardboard backer must be somehow part of the mechanism. It must be those lines that are becoming visible after it expires. And a pretty good additional verification of that is the fact that if we look at this badge, you see how the red lines are kind of nicely centered on the badge, but the sticker is actually, you're not going to be able to see it probably very well, but between my thumbnails, so there's like a big margin over here, and it's like almost right up the edge over here. And you'd think if it was like a card with red lines on it, and then completely independently from that, the sticker by itself came up with the red lines, that the red lines would become centered on the sticker, not on the card. It seems like it must be the card's lines becoming visible through the sticker somehow. So there's a couple questions there. One is, how does it happen? But kind of the first one is like, well, what triggers that to happen after a day? Had a couple different ideas. First one was maybe it's air exposure, but it's not like they pull the stickers out of a sealed bag and print them. They're on a reel in a little label printer on the desk. So I don't know how long it takes them to go through a reel, but there's going to be quite a difference in expiry time between when the person just puts in a new roll and prints the first label versus a roll that's been sitting around and he finally gets to printing the last label. That would skew your expiry times quite a bit. That didn't make a lot of sense. My next thought was ultraviolet exposure. But again, it's not going to be a very reliable way of timing it, because, okay, so let's say, this, like, Boston Children's is not the only place that's using these, I'm sure. Think about how much UV exposure difference there would be in a day between somebody who goes inside Boston Children's Hospital, stays inside all day, maybe in a darkened patient room, and then goes home, versus somebody who's visiting, say, a corporate campus in Phoenix in the summer, and they're walking between buildings a couple times. They have their meetings in the morning, and then they walk across campus to a cafeteria through the scorching Phoenix sun, and then walk back to more meetings. That's like a vastly different amount of UV exposure, so they wouldn't be a very reliable way of controlling the expiry time. So I figured it has to be some kind of chemical reaction that happens between the sticker and the backing. So you can have control over it. It doesn't start until you apply them together, and then the clock starts running, and then it happens at a pretty consistent length of time after that. So that was my guess. And then the second question is, okay, but how does it actually work? And my thought was, it's probably a white sticker that becomes translucent over time, triggered by this chemical reaction. So later on, I looked up did a little searching and tried to find out exactly who made these and so on. Found out, turns out I wasn't exactly right, but I was in the ballpark at least. These turn out to be a product called TEMPbadge, expiring visitor badges, well, I'm not sure if they're by Identicard, is like the manufacturer of them, or if there's just one vendor who has this in their lineup. I'm not really sure. But anyway, it says here, let's see, how do expiring visitor badges work? Our expiring visitor badges were invented using a patented migrating ink technology. The technology uses two different badge parts, a front and a back. The badges are designed in such a way that the front and back are combined. The front slowly absorbs the ink from the back over the course of a half-day, full-day, 3-day period, or 7-day period. So, yeah, it's not that the sticker is becoming transparent and you're seeing through to the backing. It's that the ink is actually kind of rising up from the backing into the front of the sticker. So that's pretty cool. That's a really interesting mechanism. As I said, they offer these in different lengths of time. You can see this is a 1 day. I'm guessing is the most common, or maybe more in like a commercial, visitors to a business kind of a thing. Maybe you'd use the 12-hour because you wouldn't have any reason for somebody to come back in the middle of the night. But anyway, yeah, kind of a neat product. One thing I wanted to talk about here is, notice this one is like really nice and clean lines, and this one is very splotchy. I'm guessing that this is because of the temperature. So this one has gone through a lot of this. I mean, this is from end of December. So this is, more than 3 months old at this point, more than 3 months expired. So it's had a lot of exposure to, different temperatures, a wide temperature range. It's been sitting in my vehicle. So it's seen some pretty hot days. The last previous couple weeks, it got up to, it was like spring. It got up to 60 sometimes, 60 Fahrenheit. Whereas recently it's been very, very cold. It's right now it's probably low. It's been low single digits Fahrenheit, so it's minus 15 Celsius kind of temperatures, that range, 14, 16. So pretty darn cold. So I'm wondering if and this is again been sitting in my vehicle all that time, so it's been kept at a very low temperature. So I'm wondering if that's kind of retarded or disrupted the reaction in some way. So it's a possible way to defeat the system is to, when you get your badge, hide in a refrigerator for a while, and then it'll keep your badge working longer. Yeah, maybe not. But that does bring up a point. This is pretty cool. It isn't like a super high tech thing or super high security kind of a thing. It's pretty easy to defeat. As I said, I mean, it's not like these backings are going to be hard to get a hold of, especially at the hospital. There's going to be, if you visit anybody, you're going to get one. You can hold on to it for a long period of time, and then reuse it by printing your own sticker with like an Avery label or something. It wouldn't react with the ink. The ink wouldn't migrate. It'd be good forever. Or you could get the hold of these. I'm sure you check trash cans around the hospital, like the lobby area. People throwing them away on their way out. Down the street, there's like a mall with a food court. I'm sure people go there all the time for lunch. I bet you could find these in trash cans there. So it's not like it's super hard to get a hold of and print your own label. And, not that I'm advocating you do this. I'm just saying, it kind of wanted to point out the limitations of this technology. But it certainly is, it's better than nothing. It's better than what some other hospitals have seen have, which are mostly either a printed sticker you stick on your shirt with an expiry date on it, or even just like a piece of cardboard. Somebody scribbles an illegible signature on it and stamps it with a date, and like nobody's ever going to read this date. It's very small. This, it's pretty obvious that it's expired, so it's better than nothing. But one hospital I used to go to a lot had just the scribbled signature and a ink stamp date on it. And depending on the day, it was either white, blue, or yellow badge that was given out. So I went to meetings there at that hospital for emergency management and so on for, I don't know, a couple times a month for years. I visited that hospital, geez, probably over 100 times over the years for my daughter or other people. So, you know, I had quite a large collection of those just from, you know, forgetting to throw it away at the door and taking it back to the vehicle, and there'd be, you know, a bunch of them on the floor of the vehicle, not even intending to steal them. But, you know, I had a collection of all the colors. It was pretty easy to, it would have been pretty easy to just stick any one of those on the right day if you knew what the color is. So you just walk in the lobby and see what everybody's wearing, and you go back to your car and pick that color and go in, and, you know. Anyway, so these are not very high-tech systems, but that's not a very high-tech system, but this is, well, it's more high-tech and better. It's not like super high security. It's still easy to defeat. Now, this barcode on here is used for access control. There are doorways, and in the elevators, you have to scan to get through certain doorways onto particular wards or whatever, and the elevators to get to particular floors. So based on who it is which patient you're associated with, they limit your access to those areas that would be appropriate based on where that patient is. And if you printed your own label, it's not like you're going to be able to forge one of those numbers and get yourself access to that. So the physical access control is still is separate mechanism from the red expiry lines here. It's not like you can just copy that one of the codes that used to work and it's going to still work. It's not like a key. It's just a kind of a pointer. It's a random number that correlates to some record in a database somewhere, and that record is going to expire. And it doesn't matter if you still have the number, you're not going to get in. So you would be, yeah, you could print your own that wouldn't look expired, but the access code would still be expired. You wouldn't be able to use to scan your badge to get anywhere. So that's really the stronger security mechanism in this. Although, you know, again, tailgating is not that hard, especially in an environment like a hospital. If you're at a business, or tailgating is the process of, like, you follow somebody who is supposed to be able to go through that door, and they just let you follow them through and assume you're supposed to be in there. That would hopefully be harder to do at a business or something where there are very few visitors. You'd be having to try to follow an employee through, and ideally the company would have trained employees not to let you do that, not to let visitors follow them through without scanning, you know. But at a place with a hospital where it's like huge numbers of visitors, the visitors are going to let other visitors through. Yeah, like the ideal situation would be you walk between two groups of people that are going to the same place, and the first group assumes you're with the second group of people, and the second group of people assumes you're with the first group of people, and there you go. You all walk through together, and only one person scans out of that entire set of people. So, you know, there again, limitations to how secure these are. This is not like, you know, something you want at your you know, your nuclear bunker or something to let people in. But yeah, just wanted to point out the limitations of that. Not advocating that you violate security anyway, but I thought it was worth a discussion. So I think that's all I've got to say about these. Regardless of the limitations, it's still a pretty cool technology. Interesting application of chemistry hadn't seen before, so thought it was pretty clever. So if you like this video, thought it was interesting too, please like, comment, and subscribe. Thank you.